I know you guys are a lot of you in Siman Tzadik Beis, but we still have to finish Siman Tzadik Aleph because I was behind for a few days. So we'll have to catch up. Maybe I'll speak a little fast, but I don't know. We'll see. We need at least 2 shiur in Tzadik Aleph still at least. So we're behind. Yeah, at least. Okay. Kitzur. Chabe says, Basar Bechalav roit chimshin nisarbu. So now we finally start with heat. Okay, we start with heat. Till now was tzoynin, kalim, adoche, chol b'chol. Now we go with heat. With heat is the only thing that transfers. When it's not hot, all you need is adoche. We know that already, correct? Why my horse? I don't know. What's called hot? Says the Shulchan Aruch. The bottom one is good. It's like Rav and Shmuel. If you law Gavar or Tatah Gavar, everybody go to Shiur. You law Gavar or Tatah Gavar. Raus. Raus von hier. Okay. You all understand that? That's German. German? Yeah. Okay. If was the bottom one hot is the Ike. So when you have hot, as long as the bottom one is hot, is a problem. Says the Mechaber. The bottom one is hot. Right away, it's a problem. What do you mean Hakol Asur? Is that true? Hakol Asur always forever? So the Shach right away, hey, Imein Shishim. Order. Im Ein Shishim. If there's Shishim, it's going to be Mutter. So what's the Pshat Hakol Asur? So why Taka doesn't say Hakol Asur? Hakol Asur means, as opposed to Klippe. How far does the Isser Kedei Klippe go? Only the surface. This one goes how far? To the bottom. But said that if you have Shishim, it's going to be Mutter. We discussed in one of the previous Shurim, what's worse, Klippe or Hakoil? Depends if you have Shishim or not, right? If you have Shishim, Klippe is worse, because it's better to be Hakoil. Then everything's Mutter. If you don't have Shishim, obviously it's better to have Klippe. There's no better or worse. So Hakol means hispashtus. How far does a hispashtus? Are you giving shiur? Should we go to Rabbi Leib's shiur room or stay here? What do you want? Stay here already? No one has patience. We'll stay here as long as you can hear me. Sakaparim Hakol Asur means that it's mispashit b'kula. Says the Shach that if you take a look at Simukufei where it talks about Isra Asering when it's hot, it's mashma there clearly that Beli Roitiv, an Isser doesn't go more than Kedei Netila. Isser Balua, how far does it go below Reitiv? Anyone remember? How far does Isser Balua go before below Reitiv? Nowhere. Very good. Doesn't go at all. Isser Machmas Hatzmai goes. That's the din. But how far we never discussed. But when I'm telling you, it goes Kedei Netila. So why does it go Bekulei over here? Huh? Only below Reitiv. Below Reitiv, it only goes Kedei Netila, which is Kedei Netila's Uvi Yatzma, the sheet of the thickness of a finger. So right away, what's going on here? Why is it Hakol Asur? It should only go Kedei Netila. So the Shach continues, V'dafke shenofel l'teich Basar Netech shemunach b'gdeira. Fell out tafshil. It's not below Reitiv, it's b'Reitiv. Say it. Avoloi al tzli chutz l'gdeira. But if it's out of the Reitiv, it taka asas, but it has different halachas. We're not going to talk about it here. We're going to learn about it in Simukufei. How far does it go Kedei Netila? The halacha there is, just like by Malichi, which you all learned, there's a difference if it's kochosh or shamen. If it's fatty meat or fatty cheese, whatever that means, it goes more than klipa. How far does it go? Kulei. Derech zeh by tzli. Tzli is just a code word for below reitiv. How far does it go below reitiv? If it's shamen, kulei. Says the Shach. What? Says the Shach. That's according to the Tur and the Mechaber. Uldidan b'chol inyan asar ad shishim. For us, the Ramah, it's always asar. Just like the Ramah writes by Malichi, it's always asar kulei. What's the reason? Because ein anu bekiyin ben kochosh l'shamen. And let's talk about that for a minute. Ein anu bekiyin doesn't mean me. I don't need the Ramah to say ein anu bekiyin. I'm not a baki. Okay, move on. Who am I? A baki and ishka baki. Ein anu bekiyin means someone who's taka baki. We don't rely on his bekiyas. That's the pashup shad. Gets okay. Ein anu bekiyin means a halacha shegeder. Ein anu bekiyin. Okay. So the Shach makes it harder. This that it says Hakol Asur. According to the Bechaber, it means beroitiv. If it's not beroitiv, it would be only Kedei Netila, depending if it's kochosh or shaman. But l'didan, we hold it's always asur because we're not baki. Now look at the Taz. Taz says Hakol Asur b'shum de Tatah Gavar. V'hainu dafke be'isur machmas atzmai. That's if it's mamish basar or gvina. Aval imo isur balua. If it was a fleshike potato or a milchike potato, yeah, ein yisur below reitiv. Okay, so it was mamish a piece of basar, not a fleshike potato. All the mefarshim freak out at the Taz. And if it's a piece of basar, if there's no reitiv, how far should it go? Kedei Netila. So what's the Taz talking about? The shach makes sense. We're talking about roitiv. The Taz says it must be an isur machmas atzmei, because if it's a balua, since there's no roitiv, it's only isur, so it's not isur at all. But if there's no roitiv, then it's never isur more than kedei netila either. So the Chavez Das says the Taz is talking about shomein. So if you look at this case, you have actually two options why it says hakal osur. They're both emes, or roitiv or shomein. That's all. Very simple. Did Rabbi Akiva Eiger asks, how could the Taz say there's no roitiv? It says basar that fell into cholov. What do you mean? What do you think that is? It's roitiv. So the answer is obvious. The Taz is not talking about that case. It's talking about a case of a drop of cholov falls on basar. A drop of cholov falls on basar. That's not roitiv. But the other way around, then a chanami, that's roitiv. This is easy stuff. What? It's a drop. It has to be soaked in roitiv to be able to be beleatam. That's the din. If you're learning tzaddik beis, for those who learn the beginning of tzaddik beis, we'll see right away in the shachar that's the case.
The Chavis Das answers the different answer because it's not the pot.
That's not for the Taz.
He quotes it on this very Taz. Zion on this very Taz. That Zion is not a very Chavis Das. He quotes the shach, but
I heard you. I don't want to argue with you till I'm sure. Vataz shekosav, column base, page hey. You can't see my facial expressions on the tape, huh? Vataz shekosav, like 6 lines in the second column. Say, you see? You see Vataz shekosav, 5th, 6th, 7th line. 8 lines. Vataz shekosav. Come on. B'sivkot nei, the b'yisur b'lu ani'etz b'leitiv. Ma'iri kishu chutz l'kdeire, the b'tech l'kdeire havereitiv. Ach, מה שכוסף דבריו המחבר תמוה. המקור מהירי בכדי למידו יסר הכויל. Yeah? So what does that answer you? ואפשר התז מוקים לו בחוץ לכדי. והודו יסר הכויל, מהירי.
It still answers the Kivei Geshayel. Different answer, but still answers the Kivei Geshayel.
Say it, it Taz, I said, Thank you. Right. Okay. The next case says the Mechaber Abo the Teich. But if the bottom one was cold, all you need is klippa. Why do you need klippa? Why isn't it Isra Koil? Because Tatah Gavar, the bottom one is cold, there's a war. There's a war with the hot one and the cold one. Who wins the war? The bottom one. So the cold wins, so you need nothing. Why klippa? So the Gemara says, usually when there's a war, there's what do you call it? Yeah. Whenever there's a war, there's what do you call it? What? Casualties. There's a casualty till you win. So there's a casualty. Before you win the war, the clipper goes in. That's the casualty. It's one shot. Ademekale, as it cools it off, balapurte. It's not a clear win. It's not a clear-cut win. It wins the battle, lapel, but there's casualties. Another shot, mekale means the pressure of the one chayfetz on the other pushes and connects the even though the bottom one won, it didn't win 1,000,000%. It won only a little bit, mostly. Up to the clip. Kedei clip. See, beautiful. Says the Mechaber, skip the Ramah for a second. Cholov muter kuloi. The cholov, which you can't do clip on, is kosher. What in the world? Why would the cholov be kosher? Do clip on the cholov. Whoa. What does that mean, do clip on the cholov? Okay, so you can't mamish do clipper, but I know how much cholov became treif. How much cholov became treif? The size of a clipper around the bossa, right? If you want to know how much that is, it's the same size of the klippah sabosser, just one more, because it's a little wider. Okay, so you have that amount of cholov, the same size of the klippah sabosser, plus one more, a drop more, because it's a little wider than the bossa. It surrounds the bossa. It's about, the whole way down, let's say. So you could figure out exactly how much of the cholov became osser, and where is that klippah right now? Where is it? It's everywhere, it's mixed in. So I know that there's a amount of isur, whatever that amount is, that's mixed into my milk everywhere. So what happens if Basar Bechalav falls into your cholov? An ounce. What do you need against it? Shishim against the ounce. So I know I have, let's say, an ounce, the size of the clip is combined, an ounce, in my cholov, I should need shishim against the ounce. So why is it just plain mutter? Not only that, the Rivah that the Tur brings, Taki holds like that. The Rivah says, Anochanami, the cholov which you cannot do klippah, imagine the klippah mixed into the rest of the cholov, and Taki, you need shishim. So far, so good? Yes? However, the Rambam at Tosfos holds you need nothing, which is how the Mechaber holds. V'acholov muter kula. Okay, so far, so good. Next. V'im noflu zeh l'teich zeh tzaynanim. It's only 117. Give me a chance. If the basar fell into chol of cold basar into cold milk, what does the mechaber say you do? Madiach habasar mutter. Wash the milk. Wash the meat, sorry. What about the milk? Wash the milk. Can't wash milk. So what do you do? Well, it makes sense. Well, if milk needed klippe and you was mutter b'diavad, which Ishai wants to know what to do, what you said, do still time, yeah? So halachas kama v'kama, if the milk just needs adoch, it's also mutter b'diavad. Everything makes sense. But the riva, who tainas that by the milk, you need shishim against the shira klippe. What would he taina by adocha? You need shishim, whatever you imagine the shira adocha would be, correct? Correct? Makes sense? Whatever shira adocha you think is in the milk, you need shishim against that. That's what the riva would hold. Yeah. Just like he holds by klippa, you need shishim, the riva, so adocha, you need shishim too. You can't wash it off, it's there. The meat, you have an eitzah, wash it off. Yeah. Just like we say by klippa, the milk is more chomer than the basar. According to the riva. The meat you could just do klippa, the milk needs shishim. Make sense? Everyone go back to the beginning of the Siman. Very good. Very good. The Tazis have gotten braised bottom mashal. Nobody. Oh, that you need shishim against the klippa, the riva. Nobody says you need just klippa. You can't do klippa on the cholav. You can't take it out. It has to be bottled. You can't take out. If the cholav needs klippa, you need shishim against the klippa automatically because it's mixed everywhere. No, where is it? It's everywhere. Mixed everywhere. Okay. Look at Taz base. He talks about you're traveling in a hotel and you want to eat sour pickles. Okay. So you want to take a sour pickle and you only have a goyish keli. He says put the pickles and the pickle juice on the goyish keli and then wash the pickle. You can't do it l'chatchila. He says it's a shas atchak. You're traveling, you could do it. But the mashal says v'im kain in the middle towards the end of the taz hamei melach l'shayich behadocha ne'esra kula. The pickle juice, if you buy a fabreng and you like pickle juice and you fabreng it with goyish kelim, you can't drink the pickle juice as if I buy some for the mashke because you can't wash the pickle juice. The pickles you can wash, the juice you can't. So the pickle juice is also right away. You have a kasha. The mechaber says that if you need adocha on liquid, what's the din? Mutter. You don't need anything. So why does the mashal say also? Simple. Mashal holds like the riva. So the same cheshbon. If the riva holds by klippah, it's also by the evet. Who are in by the pickle juice? Huh? Shishim against whatever you think the hadoch is. Agav, in the previous taz, he's mekel. He tainas you don't need hadoch by the evet. So the Pri Megadim says that's according to the mechaber, but the taz himself holds like the riva, as you all learned. It's gotten ches or zayin. So the taz makes a lot of sense. La halacha, the taz holds like the riva, right? That you need shishim against the klippah and the milk. So who adin by the hadocha, the pickle juice is also. That's what the Pri Megadim learns. However, the Chavaz Das argues, and he says, even the riva is moide by hadocha, you don't need shishim. It's mutter b'diavad. Why? It's so little that there is shishim. Always. Liquid that needs hadocha, l'chol adayis is mutter. So when the Mechaber said, what about the milk? L'chol adayis it's mutter. So why is the pickle juice also? Because there you're doing it l'chatchila. Ein mevatla nisa l'chatchila. You're going to the place and you're relying on the goy's kedi l'chatchila to drink from it, right? That's awesome. If it happened by mistake, says the Chavaz Das, it'll be mutter even according to the riva. He argues with the Pri Megadim. Pri Megadim tayin is it's a machloikis that's totally zebazeh. Hadocha and klippah go together. However, the Chavaz Das says name. Taketz a machloikis by klippah. By hadocha it's always mutter b'diavad farvai because it's so little is butter b'shishim. The story at the main melach is ein mevatel nisul l'chatchila. So far, so good. Now, getting to the $1 million question of the Pshai Yizirkin. Why in the world would klippah be mutter b'diavad? I mean, if something is also kedei klippah, I mean, Isur goes b'kamus, you're allowed to eat a little bit of Isur. In Torah, there's no such thing. You might not get malchus if you eat less than a kazayas. But because the Isur is smaller, it doesn't make it any less chomur. You're not allowed to eat. And by the way, it could be a lot. If you have a huge piece of basar that fell into milk, so you have a big klippah combined, it could actually be a lot. It could be a revis. I mean, why is it mutter b'diavad just because I can't do klippah? People call the Rav all the time. What does the Rav say? Chuck it in the garbage. Malasod. Sorry, it's b'diavad. I can't help you. Now sometimes we're mekel b'hef semerubah. Why? Because we're saying mechan shittas that are mekel b'diavad. Here you might taina b'diavad. You're saying mechan the shitta that it's mutter. So then the boss should also be mutter if there's such a shitta. What does that mean? What's going on here? What's tutzach to do? That's taka the rivas taina. The rivas taina is this makes no sense. It's osir. It's osir. Beside this, so by the milk, what do you do if you can't do klippah? Figure out a different eitzah. What's the eitzah? Shishim against the klippah. Figure it out. Not hard. Normally, shishim doesn't work by klippah because the klippah is on top. Here, where's the klippah? Everywhere, so shishim works. So what's going on here? Because you could have a piece that's huge, you still need klippah, even if it's 1 million. The Isra never went past klippah. It's not going to help you, shishim. If you have a piece of basar that was also getting klippah, what's it going to help you if you have shishim everywhere against the Isra? The Isra never went to the rest. Shishim only works where the Isser went. I have a lot of meat at home in my fridge, so Shishim works in my pot. If I have Isser fell into my pot, there's no Shishim. But in the rest of my house, I have a lot of pots. It's bottle of Shishim? No, it's the same thing. Look, picture in your mind, every clipper, wherever the Isser went, it's a different pot. But by the milk, makes it. The Taz asks the Kash, and he answers, the milk is different, the clipper guf is Misarev. That's the Rivo's time. So you must to answer the other way around. Really, the whole clipper of Adam Meikale Balapurt is a Chumre Ba'alma. It's a Chumre Ba'alma. Because it's only a Chumre, so we're Machber L'chatchila, not B'di'evet. Correct? That's the Pshat. Because clip is only a Chumra. Really, Adam Meikale, really sorry, Tatah Gavar, the bottom one won the war, it's everything is tzoinen, you don't even need clipper. Does Gufa that you need clipper? It's a Chiddush. Chumra, well you could, you can't, it's okay. That's the basic shit of the Tosfos and the Rambam. Correct? Ad Kedei Kach, by Basar, the Ramah says the same halacha. Now let's go back to the Ramah that I skipped. Ubemokim Shah Basar Tzorech Klippe. Im loy kolfu ubishlei kach, you forgot to do klippe. Mutter b'di'evet, same thing. The clip on the basar is also a suggestion. So if you forgot to do clip on the basar and you cooked it, seder and baya. That's how the Ramah takes the din of the Rambam and Tosfos kipshutei mamish, and he says that it's mutter. Ephraim, Bencha and Ephraim, to Shiur, take it from me out. Now, yeah, you're on tape. Let's go, both of you. I didn't say your last name. Bench is pretty obvious. Ephraim Lav Dafka. They think it's Shemtiv, don't worry. Mechutzofim, for the record. Okay, weiter. Nachshel in Yonenu. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry for those who are listening to Torah on the tape. Where were we holding? So the Ramah Taka says, Kipshutei. By the Basar also, but the evidence is going to be okay. Fine, beautiful. Now, comes the Taz and Sefkot and Zayin, and what he does is, he brings a slew of rayas, case after case after case after case, that there are more paskins that if you can't do clip, it's also b'di'evet. Classic case. If this table becomes also kidei clipper, what should the din be? Can I do clip on the table? Yeah? No, it's not wood. It's Formica. Can you do clip on it? Can you scrape this off? No. Mutter. Finished. Can't do clip it. Mutter. That's what the din should be, right? Yet, what does the Ramah say later in the Siman? When a kli is also kidei clipper by malicha, what do you need to do to the keli? Hagola. To kash it. B'di'evet, it's mutter. Not only that, there's a Ramah in Siman Tzadik Ches that says, if by mistake you cooked in that kli afterwards, it's a double b'di'evet. The kli already happened. Now I cooked another b'di'evet, yeah? I need shishim against the klippa of the kli. Hello, it's b'di'evet double. Number one, the kli was already a b'di'evet. You can't do klippa on a kli. Number two, you cooked in the kli now. Nacha b'di'evet. By the basar, you have one b'di'evet. You could have done klippa on the basar. By mistake, you cooked it. Here it's a double b'di'evet. It should have been mutter lechatchila without agola, because I can't do klippa on a kli. And now you cooked in it b'di'evet, you should for sure not need shishim connected to the clipper. Hello, and the Ramah says, case after case after case, you need shishim, it's also b'di'evet. Mikan raya, the Ramah makes no sense over here, that he relied on the mechaber. I'm telling you, we hold like the Rivo. Finished. That's the Taz's maskona. That's why by the Mei Melach says the Pri Megadim, he asked her, the Mei Melach, Pri Megadim Shlora. Because just like clipper is also b'di'evet, so is the Dacha also b'di'evet. Beautiful, makes a lot of sense. Comes the Shach and says, hello, this makes no sense. Doesn't make any sense. He says, very poshut. When do you say that the suggestion is only mutter b'di'evet? When does Tosfos and the Rambam say clip is mutter b'di'evet, where you don't see the isser in your face? If you see the isser in your face, it's also even b'di'evet, even if you can't do clipper, or you forgot. So for example, if this kli becomes also a clipper, this table, do I see the clipper that's also? Sure. What do you mean? You can't see the surface of the keli? I can't see the isser that's inside, that's true. But the clipper that became osur, can I see it? Sure. Well, how you ignore something that's here? You can't do klippah, tough luck. And if you cook in it and you need shishim against the klippah that you see. The Rambam and Tosfos were never makel in a case where you don't see the klippah. Correct? The case, that's why the milk is mutter. Do you see the klippah of the milk that became asr? No, where is it? Everywhere. So why by the basar is it mutter, says the Shach? And a chanami. The basar is only mutter if it became chop meat. If the basar fell apart when you cooked it, like it happens in chont a lot of times, right? The basar falls apart. That's when it's mutter b'di'evet. Otherwise, enochanami. Not only is the basar still need klippe, you would need shishim and the tafshil against the klippe. And he proves it, the shach. Because if you learned that Amok Pshute, that the basar is still, the klippe is still here, that Amos should have added, you taka don't need shishim against the basar, but make sure, what do you do to the basar? Do klippe, where you think it becomes mutter because you forgot to do it from before? If you had to do it before it cooked, you have to do it after it was cooked. You want to tie in the tafshil's mutter, but they have it cher. Why does the Ramah not make a comment, make sure you do klippe on the basar? Obviously, because it's not here. So the shach is mechadish. And he answers every single kasha of the Taz. In the Quds HaKesef he writes, if you see what I wrote in the Shach, Nitchu kol dvarov. We paskin like Toysvis, we paskin like the Rambam, the clip is mutter b'diavad. When the clip is not be'ein. If the clip is be'ein, it's also b'diavad. How could you ignore something that you see? What does that mean? Because you can't? Torah is not makel because you can't. If you see the problem, you have to deal with it. If that means that you have need shishim now, so you need shishim now. If you don't see it, then we could start to analyze, be'ikar adin, you never need a klippe, it was a chumrah, so it's okay. Ask him. Okay. Here's the question. What kind of klippe are we talking about that was only a suggestion? Are we talking about the klippe of Tatah Gavar? How about other dinim of klippe? For example, malicha. How much is malicha? Get the klippe. What if you forgot to do klippe and it fell apart and you cooked it? Would the shach and Ramah also hold that it's mutter b'diavad? Or are we talking specifically about the klippe of Cham l'toich tzoinin, where in reality, who should have won the war completely? The bottom one. It should be nothing. There, it's only a suggestion. But Malicha is an emes klippe. What about there? So how do you think the shach holds? Everybody, anyone have an answer? Tzvi, what does the shach hold? Why? Very good. Correct. That's what I wanted to hear. The shach brings a raya and a kasha from a case of Malicha. He says, you do shchita, the minig is you have to cut the vridim. What are the vridim? The jugular veins of the oif, which is next to the simonim, next to the kona and the vesha. To drain the blood, doesn't do it with shchita, it's kosher without it, but to drain the blood, so you could do a regular malicha, you have to cut the vridim. If you didn't cut the vridim, b'shas shchita, yeah, and then you did malicha, problem is, the melach got out all the blood, but it also schlepped in the blood from the vridim into the chicken. How much? How much? Kedei klipa, malicha is around the vridim. So if you forgot, if you didn't cut the vridim, and then you did malicha and you cooked it, so you need shishim in your tafshil against what? The klipa around the vridim that became also from the vridim. And you see that klipa, that's there, I know where it is, so you need shishim. I would answer, that's not a kasha. The reason why, it's a real klipa over there. It's not Tatah Gavar, it's a real klipa, right? That's malicha. Malicha is also kedei klipa. Mikan raya and other rayas from the shach. All klippas are a chumrah, period, across the board. If the Gemara says klipa, if Shulchan Aruch says klipa, what we're really telling you is, miyois toiv, try to be a good guy and do something extra. But in reality, be'etzem, what do you need? Nothing. Why you not by Shiur? Why you not by Shiur? Huh?
And you fix my phone.
During Shiur, mamash?
Yeah. He's leaving.
Oh, he's leaving. It's like, why you coming late? I'm leaving. Why do you think that answer is better than my kasha? Okay, so that. Nachzin Yonenu.
Because some opinion that Sli, although it's kedei klipa to the Geisa, how can you say both kedei klipa is only food?
Hasta kasha. Shai ba'ora. First of all, Sli is not klipa, l'aloch it's netila. The Ran mentioned klipa, l'aloch it's netila. So for us, it's not a kasha. On the shach, it's not a kasha. Ain't kam m'kemen. So Kaponim comes out as if from the shach. That it means every single klippa. There's no such thing as klippa that's for real. All klippas are for fake. Okay? The klippas in the world, the Eibishter made, they're also for fake. But be'emes, you have to deal with it. And the Shach also says, so if it's be'ein, you got to deal with it. Anyways, that's Ma'amad HaMuzgir. However, many poskim argue on this, and they claim that the klippa that we're dealing that's okay b'diavad is only the klippa of Tatah Gavar. Doesn't apply to all klippas. Klippas that are real, for real, there's no heter b'diavad. That's what some poskim claim. The Magen Avraham is first and foremost, in Ilchos Pesach, I think, he writes the following. He says, even klippe, there's a different, even Tatah Gavar, it depends. If I tell you something is a problem of Irui Klidishin, is the bottom one hot or cold? If I tell you Irui Klidishin, is the bottom one hot or cold? Who said cold? Why? How do you know? Otherwise? Very good. Otherwise, who cares that I'm pouring from a Klidishin? If the bottom one is hot, even if I pour cold, it's a problem. So whenever I say Irui Klidishin, what do I mean? Mamish Tatah Gavar. Cham l'toich tzoinen. Says the Magen Avraham, Irui Klidishin, which the halacha is ki Klidishin, which only asks kedei klipa. Why? Because the bottom one is cold. It depends. There's Irui nifsaka kiloch and Irui nifsaka kiloch. What does that mean? What's Irui nifsaka kiloch? It's a spritz. It means when the spritz of the iroi hit the bottom, it was already disconnected from the top. It's called iroi shenifsak hakiluach. Loy nifsak hakiluach is a flow, right? Like a samovar. You go over to take hot water from the samovar, from the urn. When you pour it and the water touches your cup, it's still connected to the samovar. That's iroi shaloy nifsak hakiluach. Tained the Magen Avraham. Iroi shaloy nifsak hakiluach is very real. There's no heter b'diavad. It's very, very real. Correct? Even that klipa is real. That it's also b'diavad. Irish nifsak hakiluach, says the Magen Avraham. That's where we can start playing games and be mekel b'diavad. So you see from the Magen Avraham that he's arguing with the Nakud of the Shach that all klippis are suggestions. No, not all klippis. Even cham b'teich tzena, not every clip is a suggestion. If it's a irish aloy nifsak hakiluach, that's for real. As is the Magen Avraham. Maimer hamuzga now. Okay. Question, start. If you buy a treif table like this, how do you catch it? How treif is the table? How deep could tarfus be in this table? Not more than could they clip it, guaranteed. I don't care what happened to it. The table was never heated up on the fire. The table's never hot. So sachakel, what happened? It was a cham l'toich tzoinen. Every counter, every table, maximum, how much could it be also? Could they clip it? So if you have a wooden table, or if you have a formica table, and you want to, let's say, change the hair of the formica, you're good. You don't have to cash at a table. Because it never goes in more than the clip. I'm guaranteed. Nobody's putting little sternos on the table and burning your table down and making it into a tradition. It didn't happen, correct? Neither is a sink ever also more than the clip, right? So how do you need to cash it? Iroi kledishin. Iroi kledishin is kikledishin, and it's cham l'toich. It'll pull out the clipper, correct? The halacha is you need an even melubin. You have to do it with a hard stone. Why? Because in eichus, the eichus, it could be the kli was belayer from a kledishin mamish. The moshel, a piece of lokshin, hot lokshin fell on the table. Chometz, yeah? Hot lokshin is a kledishin mamish, we're going to learn later. So the kli was take beleya only kedei klipa, but not from iroi kledishin, but kledishin mamish. Correct? Iroi kledishin, Pri Megadim says, is even according to the Magen Avraham, when it's loy nifsak hakiluach, it's only a suffix mevashel. It's a suffix. Huh? It's not mamish of 100% kikledishin.
If it stays out in the sun for a while, it's mamish.
Okay, ain't coming now. Maybe. It's mamish, not mamish a kledisha. So then you have to kash it with a hot stone to make it a kledisha. But if it was only beleya through a kledisha, then you can kash it with a kledisha because it's a klal keboiloi kach bolter. The same way it went in, the same way it goes out. That's tam maimer hamuzga. By the way, while we're on the subject, iroi shenifsak hakiluach, even though it goes in kedei klippe, it's not mevashel. So if a drop of milk spritzed on basar, cold basar, hot milk, you could sell it to a guy. It's muter ba'ano, it's only drabonon. Mashikin loy nifsak hakiluach is suffix maybe mevashel. Correct? Maybe mevashel. And therefore you can't sell it to a guy. Okay, that's what the Magen Avraham says. Agav, there's a huge machloikis chaves das and Yad Yehuda. How we can intertwine the Shach's shitta of Be'ein with the Magen Avraham. Not the Shach himself, because the Shach himself doesn't care. He thinks every melich every clip is a suggestion. But let's assume we go with the Magen Avraham, that there's a difference of nifsak and loy nifsak. How can you combine that with the Shach's shitta of Be'ein? So you have the Yad Yehuda that goes with very balabata. She says, you want to use the Shach of Be'ein? You have to be machmir. If it's loy nifsak hakiluach, it's always also b'diavad. Even by nifsak, it depends. If it's Be'ein, too bad. If it's not Be'ein, then you could be mekel. That makes most sense to me. That the Shach's din of being mechalik between if the klippa you can see or not is only in the case where it's a suggestion. Where is it a suggestion according to the Magen Avraham? Only by nifsak. Then Gufa tells you the Shach. Well, hello. You can be mekel if you don't see it, but if you see it, you got to deal with suggestions if they're in front of your eyes. That's what the Yad Yud It's Chavis Das. Where? Why?
Because he brings a different answer to the Shaila, right?
Say that. However, the Chavis Das. Levi, I'm middle of Shiur. Can you call me like 2:30? I'm sorry, I was out of town for the 2 days. I was out of town. I was different time zone. I couldn't talk to you. Okay. Call me later. I'm not in Shiur. Call me. Try me again. I'll try to answer you. Okay. See you. Bye. Sorry. Bye. Comes the Chavis Das and says, no. Fakir. I'm telling you the pshat. Nifsak hakiluach is mutter even if it's bein. By loy nifsak, even then, if it's not bein, you could be mekel. Stark mekel the Chavis Das. It's a huge kula. Svara makes more sense to me the Yad Yehuda. But the Chavis Das is a big enough guy that you can rely on him. He's tiny. Fakir. Whenever it's nifsak hakiluach, It's always mutter, bein, not bein. Masha'enkein, if it's loy nifsak, even then, if it's not bein, it's going to be mutter. Now, by the way, nifsak hakiluach, we said, is not mevashel for sure. Okay, it's not mevashel. And we'll see soon. Okay, no, we'll get to that a little bit. Let me go through right now a few other chilukim between nifsak and loy nifsak hakiluach. You paying attention? Yes? Nifsak hakiluach is not maflu to mavliya ke'echad. Loy nifsak hakiluach is maflu to mavliya ke'echad. You need to pay attention. Remember this for the rest of your lives. What that means, because it's going to be used a number of times, and I don't want you to be confused about what it means. Maflu to mavliya ke'echad doesn't mean that it could be maflut and mavli at the same time. It's not what it means. It means, listen carefully. Maflut to mavliya ke'echad means it could be maflut something and put that something somewhere else. Did you just follow? Maflit something and put that something somewhere else. Now I'm going to give you an example. There are many poskim that say a klisheni is a problem, but it's not maflit to mavliya ke'echad. Okay, so what does that mean? You have this big pot of water that's a klisheni. You filled up from the sink, from a samavar, boiling water into a pot. The water's yadze ledas. You put a piece of basar, you put a piece of cheese in there. What's the din? So klisheni, they say, could be maflit and mavliya, but not ke'echad, meaning you can't take out from one and put it into the other. So what could it do to the basar? It could take out the basar. Could it put the basar in the cheese? No. It could take out from the cheese, correct? Could it put the cheese into the basar? No. So what's the din? The water streif and the basar and the gvina are kosher, and so is the keli. So is the keli. Correct. It could put itself into the keli, but it can't even put any basar or chalav or gvina into the keli. The keli is still part of it. You follow? The keli is still parav. The water is treif, but the keli is parav. Because all the water could do is could put itself into the keli. Because it needs how many pu'ulos? To aser? How many? 2. What if it was a pot of milk that's boiling hot in the klisheni? Because the klisheni, the water can't put whatever it took out into the pot. What if it was milk and not water? What's it in? How many pu'ulos does it need to aser the basar? 1. Just puts itself into the basar. How many pu'ulos does it need to aser the milk? 1, take out the basar and the milk. So what's the din then? The basar is asr and the milk is asr. What about the keli? Why? It can't put the basar into the keli, but the milk itself goes into the keli. The basar, the chodah became nevela, right? Who was here in El who could tell me what the halacha is here? So machloik is who and who? No, Ran and Ravid, Shach and Taz. We'll talk about it again in Siman Tzadik Beis. Don't worry, it's a different machloikis. But akapanim, the basar is for sure asr, correct? Because it only needs one pu'ula to aser the basar, only one pu'ula to aser the cholov. Maflet to mavli ke'echad would mean that it requires 2 pu'ulas. Klisheni can't do that. Even according to the machmirim, most machmirim, you can't do that.
In this first case, shouldn't the pot be because of
From what? From the water? There's a cloud. Remember, if the oyster can't go together with the neser, it doesn't go. Very good. You ask a very good question. There's a simple answer. Okay, very good. Once we finish Basar Bechalav, you'll get that on your own. Now let's go back to Irui. Irui, shaloi nifsak hakiluach, could actually do both pulas. So which means that if I pour hot water on a piece of basar and a piece of cheese, if it's loy nifsak hakiluach, both of them are also kidei klipa. Because what did the water do? Took out from the basar kidei klipa and put into the gvina kidei klipa. Took out of the gvina kidei klipa and put that into the basar kidei klipa. So they're both also kidei klipa. But if it's just a spritz onto both of them, what's the din? The water will be also because it was mafled basar and mafled gvina. But it couldn't make the crisscross. It cannot have the koyach to be mafled from the basar into the gvina. Because Irush and Nifsek HaKiluach cannot do that, huh? Irush Shaloi Nifsek HaKiluach and Klirishin. If you have a Klirishin and you put basar and gvina, that's bishul. By the way, bishul is another code word for mafled to mavlei ke'echad. There is one case that it's not bishul and it's also mafled to mavlei ke'echad. Who can figure it out? I'll tell it to you. You'll say, yeah, duh. Kovush. When you leave something in water for 24 hours, kovush is kimavushal. Kovush does that too. If you leave basar and gvina in water for 24 hours, everything is awesome. Even though it's not bishul. Kovush we learned in the beginning of Pezayin is not bishul. Okay. That's the difference of Irush and Nifsak and Loy Nifsak. Therefore, I give a suggestion to any inventor. If you create a spout by your water sink that always creates a Nifsak HaKiluach by hot water, right? But the Evid, milchik's fleshik dishes you wash together, there's no problem. Dishwashers, I mean, no problem. Because it's never a loy nifsak, it's always a nifsak hakiluach, and it can't be mafal dem avliya ke'echad. Somehow that it always cuts off. You follow? For Shabbos, that would also be great if by mistake you turned on the hot water. For bishul purposes, it would be a problem when you open the spout because the pressure would have to let cold water into your tank, and you're not allowed to do that. But the food that the water fell on would not be bishul. It's not even mevashel to the klippa. Nifsak hakiluach, it would be no problem because Irish and nifsak is not mevashel. So if you create somehow that no cold water is going in, it's almost impossible because you need the pressure. That's how the water flows. It flows through the pressure. And you make a nifsak hakiluach. But at least for basar bechalav, dishwashers and sinks, if someone creates patent, at least for b'diavad purposes, it will be amazing. Because now mafal of the yakech. Correct? So now let's start. If a little bit of cholov hot went on basar, cham lo toich tzoyner, it was nifsak hakiluach. Are they both asr? Yes, because how many pulas do you need? One. Okay? Loy nifsak, same thing. You can do 2 pulas. I don't need 2 pulas. That's the pshat in the shach zayin. Nifsak is boy klipper. Still need klipper. Cholov ante basar, not water ante basar and cholov. That's okay. But cholov ante basar boy klipper. Loy nifsak, even though it's mamish mafatim of the echad, sagi be klipper. You don't need more than klipper. Still Tatah Gavar, you only need klipper. But if you poured pareve water, gespritzt, nifsak, ante basar and glin, is not going to be a problem. Understood? Where do we have this shaila? Chickens. In order to eat chicken, you have to flick the chicken. You have to get rid of the feathers. If you'll notice, treifa chickens are a lot cleaner than kosher chickens. Anyone know why? Because the easiest way to flick a chicken is you put it in hot water. And then the feathers, they go off completely. We cannot do that. Because the minute you put the chicken in hot water, what happens? It gets cooked with the dam. So we have a big, Meikar Adin, huge Ramon, Samaches, huge Prima Godims there, figuring out ways to help the Schlachthäusen to flick the chicken by using we don't use hot water, Lepoil. But the best way would be Iroi Klidish. Now, if it's loy nifsak hakiluach, it doesn't help you. Because it's going to be maflit dam from the clip of the chicken. And what's going to happen to that dam? Go right back in. Maflit umavliya ke'echad. But if you do nifsak hakiluach onto the chicken, what'll happen? It's only maflit, there won't be mavliya. Although maybe the second spritz will be mavliya, but that's a different conversation. One spritz of water on this chicken, making it hot, would not be a problem, because even though the dam is on it, they won't put it back in. Nifsak hakiluach only. So when do we say boy klippe? When the actual isur is being spritzed. Cholov ante basar. So far, so good. Is that correct? Yeah? All right.
Why don't you just do kishen?
Because we're not saying mechan klishlishi, you mean? First, because we don't want to. Maybe some places do, but if we call it, we don't. We use lukewarm water, they try, but not yatsi ledas. And then the chickens are not as clean. They're disgusting. It depends from which schlachters it comes from. No offense. No offense there. אתה לא בא לבית, אתה לא עושה שום כסף מזה, נכון? אם אתה עובד, אתה עושה כסף. Yeah, we're talking about Edith Edition right now. Yeah. Okay, moving right along, the Gabe Tatah Gavar. There's a huge Chavis Das. Like it's like huge Chiddush. It's not such a Chiddush. But let me give you a Heicha Timtza right now. I take a piece of chazer mamish, boiling hot, it's dripping from schmaltz, I'm telling you, chazer is officially sehr geschmaltzedike flesh, yeah? And you put on this cold table. How much is the table, Osir? Today, I can't hear. Why? Because chamet tertzein is a clipper. Nachon. Now I put a kosher piece of flesh on top of the chazer. How much should it be, Osir? Nothing. Tatah Gavar, the bottom one won the war, and the top one is actually burning your finger, but Torah says it's cold. That should be the thing. Slow down. Yeah, the chazer became cold. Tatah Gavar, there was a war, and the bottom one won, right? That the Tatah Gavar, there's a war. Al derech zeh lehefech. What if the table was hot? Yeah, and you put cold chazer on the table. How much is the table going to be also now? Kuloi, because the bottom one is hot. Yeah. Now Tatah Gavar, what did it turn the chazer into? Officially, hot. So now if I put something cold kosher on the chazer, what should be the din? How much? If it's kochosh kedinatila, right? There's no relative, okay? If it's shomin kula, if you're not bucking kula, but oiser akabanam. I was just playing with your mind for a second. But how much should it should be oiser, right? Well, yeah, for sure. The bottom one is hot, but the chazer is still really what? Cold. Does that make any sense? Does it really mean Tatah Gavar that actually transforms the status of the top one? Turns it hot. Does it make any sense? When it comes to Chavos Das, said no. The Redishka cup is never what it meant. It meant in the place where they touch, it cools off any plate that it tries to go in, or it heats up any plate. It never meant that it changes the piece. Huh? Defense or offense. When the bottom one is hot, then it pushes the Yisr B'kulei. But it's only legabe the surface where they touch. It never means that it transforms the piece. Which means that if you put hot chazer onto this table, how much is the table going to be also kedei? Klipa. And I put something else on top of the chazer now. What's the bottom on the gab in my piece? Hot chazer. How much is it going to aser? Maybe kulei, whatever. More than klipa. Netila or kulei, koch or shaman. Because what's the logic, shebedavar? What's the logic, shebedavar? Because the bottom one never changes the top one. Finished. There are those that tiny the prima. It changes what it could affect the kosher, yeah. But it never changes the metzias of the top one. That's fine, then it's the taka gets cooled off or heated up. It's visual maybe. So the Chavos Das is telling you that that's the Geder. Now it could be the Pri Megadim argues, and it could be the Shach argues. There's huge explosions on the Achreinim about this. But that's certainly the Shitta of the Chavos Das. And he says here in the Basar Bechalav, Ubezeh Yisyashev Kushas and Nekudas HaKesef Alatas. Not here. There's a famous Nekudas HaKesef in Hilchos Tarubis and Sibuk Ufei where he asked a bomba dikikasha on this Shitta. We hold that a Klisheni is, Ramah is going to hold later, Klisheni is what? Nothing. Tzoinen. Correct? The Taz holds. Now, why did I say, no, you asked me, if a klisheni is nothing, how's the chazer going to aser weiter? It's a klisheni. Because solid foods, we hold, stays a klidish. Okay. But liquid is a klisheni. The Taz holds like the Marshal, that liquid klisheni is still considered hot. It's not mafel to mavli, but it's considered hot. So if cold meat falls into hot milk in a klisheni, what's the Taz going to hold? How much is it aser? How many poodles do you need? One. How much is it going to aser? Kuloi. Yeah, that's what he says. The Shach says, save me. This makes no sense. Irui klirishoin, which is definitely worse than klisheni. How much does it aser? Klippa. How could klisheni be worse than irui? How could the tulda be stronger than the av? What are you talking about? Irui klirishoin, yeah? Klisheni, which is a madrega lower, is worse. Impossible. That's what the Nekudas HaKesef answers. Pri Megadim gives his own tenets. Chavos Das says, why is that impossible? I just showed you. I took a hot piece of chazer, klirishoin, on the table. How much is it, oiser? Klipper. Put something on top of that afterwards. How much is it, oiser? Kulei. What do you mean? A minute ago, it only asked the tenets is pushing. When it first fell on the cold table, the bottom one was cold. Now that's the bottom. So the Taz is the same thing. If you pour hot water on a cold keli, how much is it going to aser? Klipper, because the keli is cold. Fill up the keli with water. Put something in the water, according to the Taz, that it didn't transform the water. Now what's the bottom one? Hot. So what's the problem? Why is that such a pella? That's what he answers.
When the meat falls into the milk, cooler would be cold, right? Because it falls fully into
I was talking about, cold meat fell into the milk, yeah.
I suppose the hot meat falls into the cold milk.
Yeah, no.
The Tatah Gavar makes it transforms the whole meat.
Does it transform? What?
Only the outside layer.
Doesn't transform anything. It never transforms. The bottom one never changes the top one. If the bottom one is cold, it doesn't allow that's defense. It doesn't allow it to go on more than kidei klippe. What? This is the Chavos Das's word. And he says, "Ubazei yisyashiv the kushya of the shach and the kudas HaKesef." It's a brilliant teretz. For us, it doesn't make a difference. We hold klisheni, let's say, is cold. But for, let's say, dover gush, solid foods, which we taka hold stays a klidish. I'm telling you this case.
What's chatting at the makeup?
When they put it down, while the water is being worn on the surface, it still goes kidei klippe.
At the makeup means when it's cooling.
As it's cooling off,
What's cooling off?
the surface, the bottom one is cooling off the plate that's coming in, not to allow it in. It's still kricht rein kidei klippe. What's the problem?
Okay, but the surface does become.
Are you really doing that? You want to know if you flip over the surface and something falls on that surface, did it cool it off? That's your question.
When the meat falls in, all of it is the surface.
That's your question. Ask the question differently. Your question is when the chazer falls on the table, if I flip over the chazer, I'll tell you where to look for information for that if you want. Is it the surface? Is it the plate from the surface? Bemet? Tamadim Mashinemar. Yof. Akaponim, dozok the Chavos Das. Chavos Das says it's a gewaldige, große Chiddush. That's what he says. Ibazei, zokt Rabbi Forkash and Tatah Halacha, Chiddush Gadol b'Yoser. I once saw this in an interview with him in the women's department of the Kfar Chabad magazine, years and years ago. How do you make a coffee Shabbos? He says the best way to make a coffee Shabbos is you put coffee in an empty cup, take another cup, fill up from the samovar, pour from this cup onto the coffee. It's called Irui what? Kli Sheni. Irui Kli Sheni. There's another way. Fill up a Kli Shlishi and put the coffee in. That's a mistake, no? It should be the other way around. The best way is what? Kli Shlishi, right? You could also do Irui Kli Sheni. He said it the other way.
Stop. Would it be better to do like just pause that way it's not one shot?
Nifsika Kiloch, you try. Try doing it. Just try it. Tell me how you do it, and I'll be glad to do it. Beseder. I get it. It could be done. You go ahead, make a mess, and then spritz Allah and get yourself burnt. Okay. So he said the best way is irui klisheni. Yeah. There's also klishlishi. I thought it was a mistake till he came out with his sefer, and the time is as follows. There are poskim and halacha that say klishlishi is osir on Shabbos. Shabbos klisheni is also osir. For other isurim, we're mekel b'diavad in many cases klisheni. Shabbos klisheni is a problem. Kale habishul, nida kimavashul. We're not going to learn Hilchos Shabbos right now. Okay. However, klisheni is also. Some say klishlishi is like klisheni. There's no such thing as klishlishi. Anything plus klisheni that's yatsi lettuce is the same thing as a klisheni. It's a shit of the Yoreh. Rabbi Lezer Mimitzu wrote the Yoreh. He claims there's no halacha of klishlishi. It's klisheni and down yatsi lettuce is a problem. Okay. Al-Rebbe does not mention that shit. He doesn't mention klishlishi in Hilchos Shabbos at all. In Hilchos Pesach, in Agolas Kedem, he does mention klishlishi. Legabe mafel to mavliya ve'en kan mekoyme. Okay. Fragt Rabbi Farkash, bazei. How does the Shulchan Aruch say irui klisheni is okay according to the Yoreh? If klishlishi is a problem, how could irui klisheni be okay? What's better? Klishlishi is better, right? If klishlishi is also, then the worst one is for sure also. Zakta na. Look at this Chavez Das. Irui klisheni Tatah Gavar, no problem. Can't cook. Irui klisheni can cook in the klippe. Irui klisheni can't even cook in the klippe. But once it's a klishlishi and you put something into the klishlishi, the Yereim says no. Now the bottom one is hot. That's a problem. So according to the Yereim, even though klishlishi klidavi is a problem, but irui klisheni is definitely okay because Tatah Gavar, not irui klisheni for Shabbos. I get that. Understood? So far so good. Mela sagt Rabbi Farkash, the best way to make coffee the whole day is what? Irui klisheni. Klishlishi, yeah, it's a machlokes poskim. We're talking mekel. You can make a klishlishi, but according to those who want to be machmer like the Yereim, what's going to be the din? Can't make a klishlishi. So how you make a coffee? Irui klisheni. That's this Chavez Das. This Chavez Das mamish. That you can have the same story, the same heat, but when the bottom one is cold, it only goes to the clip. And when that becomes the bottom, now it's worse. Many people disagree with him. They say it's impossible. You can't have irui klisheni better than klishlishi according to the Yereim. And if you're choshish for the Yereim, don't have coffee on Shabbos unless you make essence. You make a very, very strong coffee like tea and put that into your coffee. Or else, Nachanami, suffer, don't have coffee on Shabbos. There are Yidden that don't drink coffee on Shabbos for that reason. But according to Rabbi Farkash, if you're doing irui klisheni, that's mutar v'chatchila. Understood? Based on this Chavez Das. There's a famous Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan says the whole din of Tatah Gavar makes absolutely no sense. What does that mean? Who should really win, by the way? If I asked you, who's going to win? The bigger one, very good. The bigger one wins. The stronger one wins. What does it even mean, Tatah Gavar? So he claims Tatah Gavar only works when it's mechza al mechza. Mechza al mechza. Yeah, let's say our case, a piece of hot basar falls into cold milk. If the milk is a lot, then the milk wins. If the milk is less, hot basar falls to a little bit of milk, then the basar wins the war. The whole din is only by mechza al mechza. The Aruch HaShulchan. However, most poskim disagree with the Aruch HaShulchan. And they say, you say Tatah Gavar no matter what. The Pri Megadim asks a different question. Stam, why is there Yoreh machloikis? Just taste it. If you hold like the mechaber, you could be saying mechatiyim. I don't know who's winning the bottom or the top. Give it to a guy to taste. Let him tell us. He says because sometimes it doesn't give time. Sometimes, so you can't know who really wins. Even if the bottom one wins or the top one wins, sometimes it still doesn't give time. So b'meila they have a machlokes. What's al haroif? What normally happens? And if normally happens according to Ravi law and according to Shmuel Tatah, so that's what you go like, whichever one normally happens. There's a famous Ran. The Ran says when it's al ha'esh, there's no Tatah Gavar, the Eish wins. But Megadim has a whole pilpul in a Chakira over here. He comes to Maskana what it really means. If the ilah is still al ha'esh, even though the Tatah is tzoinin, yeah. For example, you have a pot that's on the fire, but halfway sticking off the fire, and some cold milk spilled under it, untouched the pot. Does it go in kidei klip or kulei? Says the Ran, the koyach ha'esh always wins. When it's al ha'esh, the eish always wins, even though the Tatah is tzoinin. Understood? That's another prat, another din of Tatah Gavar. That's important to know. I was about to say another Nakud of Tatah Gavar that just mamish slipped my mind. Sides a big machloikis. We'll learn about that. In the end of Tzadik Beis, we'll mention it. We'll learn it in Luchas Tarubis. upset now because I had something managed to say. Oh, yeah, now I remember. 2 more points. Klisheni and Dover HaMesarev. The Michas Yankov holds that if the bottom one is cold al pitoida but physically hot, you don't say Tatah Gavar. Klisheni. What if a Klisheni falls onto a Klisheni? How much is it I said? The Pashtus, we would hold. Nothing. The Klisheni wins. Right? So it turns the top one into a Klisheni too. So it doesn't ask it at all. That's Taki what the Rama holds. Befedish. Says Befedish. It's Siman Tzadik Beis. Michas Yankov says, he argues. He says, no. If it's cold, it wins. But if it's actually hot, then just Torah doesn't consider that. Tough luck. It doesn't cool it off. But the Pearl that Rama holds, it does cool it off. In other words, it downgrades the top one to a Klisheni, so it's not a problem. Rebbe says, no, Shabbos v'shem ha'toisves. That when do you say when there's a solid involved, liquid on liquid, it's bechalal no problem. It's not even the vashel kedei klippe. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe says you could go over with a cup of water over to the samavar and add water directly from Yoreh Kledishin onto the water. Yoreh Kledishin of the vashel kedei klippe, not liquid on liquid. However, lepoil mamish, you should only do it if you're pouring in less, because over there it's mashma that you also go basar bechalav by Shabbos. So if you have, let's say, cold water and you want to make it a little warm, you could go over to the samavar, don't let anyone see, and add a little bit of hot water, as long as it's less than what's inside. Because b'dovar hamisarev, it's called dovar hamisarev, liquids that mixed, it's not even mevashel kedei klippe. Even Yoreh Kledishin. So why doesn't it say it here? Why is it only in the Shabbos? Why is the din of dovar hamisarev not here? Very good. Because here, it's also anyways, even if they're both cold, it's also. If you mix kosher and treif, 2 liquids, and they're cold, what's the din? It would be negeya to know that you could sell it to a goy. That's true. If hot milk falls into cold broth, fleishike broth, it's taken not mevashel anything. So therefore, even if you don't have shishim, you can sell it to a goy. Das yo. But eat it, you need to have shishim anyways. That's why in Yoreh it's not mentioned. Because if liquid mixes into liquid, you got a problem no matter what. 0. But not gay if it's mevashel or not mevashel. In the Shabbos you have to know.
But it's anyways just the abon. Even if it cooks, if it's it's anyways just the abon.
Can they clip it? Why is that a bun? No, if it's late of skakiluach, then Magna Avram something like that. But if there's Roiv of Seif milk, well, it can still be machmer. Well, it depends. But you get how Roiv works. Learn the Alter Rebbe Nuchel Shabbos, you see how Roiv works. Okay, the next year is going to be Amalicha. Yes. Because there it only matters Bishul, Emes. Put the tables back, please.